Okay, so it's summer and...
Sorry for the scrape of my mug across the table.
Oh yeah, do you have tea?
I do have tea.
What kind of tea today?
This is the Harney & Sons Paris blend, which is a black tea with lavender and vanilla. It is delicious. It's amazing hot or iced. And it is, we got a delightful spring rain going on out there today, Jeff. And I personally love a spring rain, but I need an appropriate tea to accompany it. And so this is the tea of the day. And it's gone cold, but I'm going to drink it anyway and then go make a fresh mug when we're done here. Yes, we are a library podcast.
We are, and I do have a question about tea as I begin this episode. It is a little too quiet. It's the Ferndale Library Podcast, brought to you by the Friends of the Ferndale Library. And if you click play on this podcast, you know we're going to be talking about summer reading, which I promise we are. But speaking of summer, then do you yourself, Mary Graham, get yourself into iced tea in the summer?
Oh, Jeff.
Okay.
What many listeners don't know, and what I can't remember if you know but perhaps don't remember, is that my dear parents are from South by God, Carolina. And down in South Carolina, mostly one drinks sweet tea. Now, my father abhors sweet tea. And so when he goes back down south and orders iced tea and specifies unsweet, they look at him like maybe he has a fever. Is he feeling okay? But iced tea was as common in my house growing up as water. Decaf, black, unsweet iced tea. So I do love an iced tea, especially in the summer. I like to make like a pitcher of something kind of fancy.
Sure.
So like a black tea with floral. One of my other favorite tea blends is called Rose Scented. That's also from Harney & Sons. It's just the right amount of rose. I love an iced green tea.
Oh, yeah.
The Japanese tea with the toasty rice.
Yeah.
I think that's genmaicha.
Yeah.
I really love that iced. So no, I definitely, during the winter, it's like all hot tea. And during the summer, it's probably 50-50 because I would drink hot tea in a heat wave. But I do also enjoy an iced tea.
Sweet tea is no joke in the South.
Sweet tea is no joke in the South. And even though I also hate it, I inherited that from my father, I still get very much on a high horse about the appropriate way to introduce sugar into sweet tea.
Sure.
Simple syrup.
Sure.
That sugar is never going to dissolve if you pour it straight in.
Sure.
So.
Right. I went to Savannah and I remember two things. Some cobblestone roads and sweet tea.
Yeah.
That's all my memory retains of that. Okay, so we're here to talk about summer reading.
We sure
and hold on a second while I clue folks in, because you are going to be hearing as we go through the day from lots of folks here who work here, and I gave them a lot of options about what they could or could not talk about. For instance, summer reading is coming up. That's first and foremost, we have to tell you that. The kickoff is June 7th.
Summer reading
Ferndale.
as an event, not just as a concept.
Not just as a concept, because every library has a summer reading program, asterisk, which then is sort of this umbrella term that we talk about, basically referring to the whole 3 months worth of scheduling worth of all programs, plural, for all ages. And then embedded into that is a summer reading challenge. So there's just a lot of facets to it.
It's party season at your library is what we're trying to say. Like it's always, the library is always a good time. It's always fun.
Sure.
But summer is when the party kicks into proper high gear.
Oh, yeah. The prompts I gave everyone was, and we're going to find out what Mary Graham answers in about 10 seconds. Is there a book that reminds you of summer? A book that you have tied vividly to the memory of summer? Perhaps you read it during summer. Is there a book coming out soon this summer in the year of our library, 2025, that you would like to, that you have your eye on? Especially, I mean, despite, even if Mary Graham doesn't pick this option, if you want to know what books are about to be coming out, ask a librarian because they have the inside track, literally. Do you have any fond memories tied to a summer reading program at the local library where you grew up? That's a fun one. Or do you have a personal record that you've set as far as how many books you've read in a given summer? So those were the prompts. What do you got for us, Mary Graham?
I'm so sorry. I'm still stuck on Year of Our Library, and I'm like, Anno Biblium or something. Someone correct my Latin, but I'm like, that is hilarious.
It's got a good ring to it too.
That's really funny. I'm answering the first one about books that remind me of summer because I've read them in summer. And I thought to myself, well, I could come in and talk about Jane Austen. I could come in and talk about War and Peace, both of which have very deeply summer connected. Yeah, everyone's favorite beach read, War and Peace.
That's right.
And then I thought they've heard me talk about those before. So I'm here to talk about poetry.
Okay.
Jeff, because
That's the thing that you shout out as Edgar Allan is running and about to run into a tree.
It's legitimately very good.
I stole it. I can't take
I am going to use that.
Please.
That is really funny. Yeah. Poetry for me has always been very seasonal. I like how there's a great series called Poetry for Young People. That's we have some of them here. Poetry is shelved with nonfiction in many places, including here. So as the nonfiction selector for youth, I buy all of our poetry books, which is a delightful part of my job. And we have some of the Poetry for Young People series, which anthologizes often the sort of the canon poets in the English language. And growing up, I had one of theirs that was about seasons. And I think I still have it. And it made a big impression on me. And I didn't bring that one with me, but I did bring some other poetry books that have sort of seen me through. So the first one is
visual aids.
Yeah. Is Cicely Mary Barker's Complete Book of Flower Fairies, which is an omnibus edition of many smaller, I think 4 or 5 smaller books that were published during her lifetime. She was an artist and poet. And when did she live? Late 19th century. She was born in the late 19th century. Okay. She really flourished between the wars.
Okay.
And you will likely, I think her drawings might be public domain by now. So you will likely recognize some of these. And she made all these little drawings of fairies,
very big in the late 1800s, by the way.
Flower fairies. Mm-hmm. So the idea of these sort of little people who lived in plants, and they dressed in little versions of the plants. Mm-hmm. But she was rigorous about botanical accuracy. So she did a lot of research and would go to Kew Gardens and sketch from life. And then her sister ran a nursery school. And so she also sketched the children from life. So and it's a full color edition. And then she would write these little poems to go along. And so like here, for example, and they're short little things, but it's lilac season roundabouts where I am. And there's a great big lilac tree near my home. So here's very briefly the song of the lilac fairy. White May is flowering, red May beside. Laburnum is showering, gold far and wide. But I sing of lilac, the dearly loved lilac, lilac in Maytime, a joy and a pride. I love her so much that I never can tell if she's sweeter to look at or sweeter to smell.
Wow, I like
and
that.
So they're just those short little charming verses. But I can identify so many plants because of this book. Mm-hmm. And because I just grew up and I loved to look at the illustrations.
So as Melville is to whales and Tolkien to elves, this author is to fairies.
This author is to plants, I would say, and plants, and flowers. Yes. Yep, Cicely Mary Barker.
A great way to introduce young readers to meter.
Yes, great way to introduce them to meter and rhyme. Yeah. Also great way to introduce them to botany.
That's right.
Because the number of plants that I could suddenly walk around and go, oh, I know what that's called, just because I had seen this really beautiful but accurate loving illustration of it. So many. And I know we got a lot of gardeners round about these parts. A lot of gardeners, a lot of nature people. So the Complete Book of the Flower Fairies, definitely one that I recommend. You come grab no matter what your age is. Simultaneously, no matter what your age is, as I got a little bit older, I fell quite in love with Walt Whitman's poetry in about 10th grade, which is when we had to do American literature at my high school.
I had a feeling he would come up.
For the most part, I am not a huge American lit person, but I just really liked Whitman. And talk about it's not that he never wrote a poem in meter, but his poems are often much more rambly, and sort of, they're very, when I think about Walt Whitman, I think about like his arms spread wide. He was a man who just wanted to embrace the world.
He's a living embodiment, thesaurus entry for the word emphatic.
Truly, truly, truly. And so one year during the summer vacation, I sat down with Leaves of Grass, which is a brick. And so I have not read all of Leaves of Grass, but I still have that edition at home, and I love skipping around it. And a lot of Whitman's poems are very, very dear to me. And you can get Leaves of Grass here at the library in the adult section, or you can get the essential Walt Whitman.
Sure.
But we also have, back in youth, the illustrated Walt Whitman, 26 Essential Poems, which is edited and illustrated. Edited in terms of they've been selected, not that they've been changed.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, wrote the poem I Sing the Body Electric.
Yes.
Which is a poem, in fact, and not a Bjork album.
I don't get that reference. But and the other thing I really love about this edition is that it has it's got some definitions to the side. It's a great introduction to Whitman. It's the shorter poems or it's excerpts, and it's got questions along the side about like, what do you maybe think about this? And
it's a digest.
It's in the best sense of the term.
Sure.
And it's got some beautiful illustrations. So can I read one of these as well?
No shade to digests.
All right. This is possibly my favorite, certainly of the shorter Whitman poems. And it is a noiseless patient spider. A noiseless patient spider, I marked where on a little promontory it stood isolated, marked how to explore the vacant, vast surrounding. It launched forth filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, O my soul.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, he knew what was up.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, very, very closely tied to Brooklyn, New York, and there's just something about reading Whitman to me that makes me think about, the times I've gone to visit New York. It's always been the summer. It's always been hot. There's something to me about like a hot summer day. It's like I want to go sit by a creek and read Walt Whitman, which I think would delight him.
Also, leave it to him to look at a spider web and ruminate upon his soul.
Yeah, I did love the Transcendentalists as part, which he isn't, as part of American literature as well. And I mean, it's interesting to me that Whitman wasn't solely a nature poet, but that's a nature poem to an extent.
Sure.
And there's something about the summertime. I want to spend all my time outside. I want to be out in nature, and I want to be thinking about the soul. When I was, young, I didn't have any schoolwork, so I finally had time.
Yes.
and something I love about summer, I get excited being a youth librarian. The school year doesn't rule my life in terms of, oh no, I've got final papers anymore, but it does still rule my life in terms of summer means something for a youth librarian.
Yes.
It does mean busy season, but it also means, I take time to think about, what do I want to do this summer? What goals do I want to accomplish? What intentions do I want to set?
Sure.
It's one of my favorite seasons.
Yeah.
And it sort of feels like it starts, we're recording this on May Day.
Yeah.
And so it feels like it starts right now because we're like really gearing up. We have like a month before the summer reading programming kicks in. And so we're all kind of like, okay, here we go. So I feel like it's already starting.
The energy is here.
The energy is very much here, and it's one of my favorite seasons.
Let's review the first book you brought was titled.
The first book I brought was titled The Complete Book of the Flower Fairies by Cicely Mary Barker.
And this other book.
And the other one is the illustrated Walt Whitman, 25 Essential Poems. It is edited by Ryan G. Van Cleve, but all of the poems themselves are by Whitman.
Right.
You can find both of these in our poetry section.
Right.
Back in the juvenile nonfiction section.
Sure.
Look for category J, which is where we keep all the poets. And then Whitman will be under Whitman and Barker will be under Barker.
And that's a digestibly sized book featuring a transcendentalist if you would like a more thorough sampling.
No.
You can come to the nonfiction section and we'll help you find that. Yep, I tried, right? It's okay, right?
For those of you who maybe didn't quite catch it, that was a Thoreau joke.
Thoreau.
Yeah.
And then there was Longfellow. I know my transcendentalists.
Yes. Now I'm so worried that someone who did American literature is going to email us and be like, Whitman wasn't a transcendentalist, which is entirely possible, but I don't know.
I mean, but he's He feels like a spiritual cousin of them, right?
That's
He's
definitely
kinda
true.
Like, he should have been invited to those parties. Anyway, okay. Well, thanks, Mary Graham.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hello. Cricket,
Hi, Jeff.
how are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm good. So this is the start of the episode about summer reading. You have orange socks with a butterfly.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I sure do.
This is the summer reading episode. How exciting.
I am super excited.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, here's what I want to talk about. You gave us lots of like lovely prompts.
Yeah, so
I read
there's a
with
lot
interest.
There's a lot of options.
There's a lot of options, and I'm ignoring them.
You have a new prompt?
I have a new prompt.
Okay, what's your prompt?
Well, I just want to talk about reading outside.
Oh, just the joy of.
The joy of reading outside. And I was inspired to talk about this by one of your prompts, which was about participating in summer child. Because as a child, you may be shocked to hear this, I was an enthusiastic user of my local library.
Sure.
And an avid reader.
Sure.
And
I should properly introduce, this is Cricket, the assistant director
Oh,
of libraries,
hi.
who
Yeah, hello.
is a librarian and has worked in libraries for basically her whole life. So yes, of course, that all led to this. Yes.
I am a librarian. I've been working in libraries for over 20 years, but I'm also the daughter of a librarian.
Oh, amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I come by it honestly. In spite of being the daughter of a librarian, my mom did have concerns that I was reading too much, especially
Wow.
in the summer. And so she would often shove me outside
Wow.
to go play outside.
What a problem for a parent to have.
And what I would do is hide a book in the garage and then find a place to read outside.
Wow. What a trope. Are you sure you aren't living the life of an actual children's book from the 80s?
I know.
Call Judy Blume. Wow.
And often they were Judy Blume books
Uh-huh.
because I loved Judy Blume as a kid. But yeah, so there were a lot of like fun places in my neighborhood where I would sneak off to read and pretend to be like vigorously playing. There was like a little spot between my house and the garage that was kind of like an alcove that I used as a fort, and I would read back there. Sometimes I would just take a blanket and read underneath a tree. Sometimes I would climb a tree and read in the tree. And that has really translated into, as an adult, as soon as the weather gets warm, really wanting to take a book and read outside.
Yes.
And for some reason, it feels like a completely different experience.
But do we know why?
I think it's because when I'm outside, I am better at putting away my phone and just focusing on the book and on whatever I can see around me. Whereas if I'm reading like in my house, sometimes I'll look up from my book and I'll see that my cat needs to be brushed, or that there's dishes that need to be washed, or that there's a TV that I could turn on.
Sure.
Whereas when I'm outside, if I look up, I might see like a tree or a flower, or like maybe a neighbor walking a dog.
Nature is the best distraction.
Yeah. And so we've discussed before how I'm a bog monster, but I'm also a porch monster.
Right.
So as soon as it gets warm, I basically move onto my front porch. I have several different seating options out there. And I really like to just look at the trees kind of waving in the breeze. So I'll stop reading for like 10 minutes and just look at leaves, and then I'll go back to my book.
That's the thing. I mean, not to make it so dystopic, but in this phone world that we live in, with all these mobile devices and all these distractions, it has become hard for literally any of us to focus at all.
Yes.
And I think that when we are indoors and maybe our phone is on the table, we can maybe go, 3 pages before? But if you're outside and you read 3 pages and your eyes just drift up at the fluttering leaves on a tree or on a bird,
It's so peaceful. It's a
breath of
completely
fresh
different
air,
experience.
come back down 3 more pages, go back up, bird in a tree, come back down 3 more pages,
Yeah.
Yeah, go over, dog walking across the street.
Yeah.
With someone walking them, obviously. I don't know.
Yeah. And so I also wanted to highlight something that
Yeah.
our friends do.
Oh, the Friends
in
of the Ferndale
warm-
Library?
Yeah, the Friends of the Ferndale Library in the warm weather. They pick different parks around Ferndale, and they have meet up to read quietly in parks.
You can drive up to the park, walk up to the park, back up to the park, hang
Yeah.
out in a group, and read outside.
Yep.
Yeah, what do they call that? I think they call it like the park and read.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But it's like more nuanced than that. I think you don't literally have to stay in your car. I think it was born out of a socially distanced world that we lived in 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, and
But
I know
you can hang out now when you get to the park.
Yeah, soon to be President Emeritus Ed has a portable hammock, and he has been taking his portable hammock around to different parks and just reading outside because he also shares that love. So I don't even have a particular book that I want to talk about today, which is unusual for me.
Interesting.
I really just want to encourage people to take whatever book they have outside this summer and see if the experience is different for them. And, you know, even at a beach, although if it's at the beach, maybe like take a used paperback that you buy from the Friends of the Ferndale Library used bookstore.
Oh, that'd be great.
Instead of a library book, just because you might get really sandy or wet.
Sure. These are only $1, so.
But take your book to the beach or the lake or the pool or your yard or a park and just see how the experience is different for you.
Yeah. I think it's, again, very peaceful.
Yes.
Normally.
Yes.
But maybe even if it isn't, you know, I don't know. Maybe your neighbor's starting a sprinkler next to you. As long as it's not a leaf blower, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Well, actually, I can't resist asking, just for fun, in case listeners are curious, even if it's not good, what book are you currently reading right now?
It is actually really good.
Okay.
And I read a whole bunch of it in my hammock last weekend.
Perfect.
And I think that did add to the experience, but it is called Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey.
Get out of this podcast studio, because I just started that book.
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. Oh, Jeff, I won't say too much, but there's a twist at the end that I was not expecting.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, this is about a family, and I can't remember, and this might be plot related that I don't want to spoil, but it is just the father and children.
Yep.
And they are
the Salt
on
family. They're on an island.
A research facility.
A research island that's halfway between Tasmania and Antarctica.
And there is a shipwreck nearby.
There's a shipwreck.
And there's a survivor.
And she's mysterious.
They bring the survivor back to their research facility. And the book is traded off between first-person perspectives of each character who's telling you what's happening, which is really cool.
It is really cool.
And not to knock Cricket reading a book in a hammock, but if you also get the audiobook, you get to hear Australian accents.
Oh, that's true. You know what? You could listen to an audiobook in a hammock.
There's
nothing
you can just hang
you.
there and
you won't be able to hear the birds quite as well, but they might add to it because there are a lot of birds in this book.
Dark Shore, Wild Dark Shore?
Wild Dark Shore. One thing I really like about Charlotte McConaughey, now that you've got me talking about her, is that she weaves these really interesting environmental themes into her psychological thrillers.
She's like, OPS, climate change is real. But in a subtle way. Sometimes not in a subtle way.
Not so subtle eventually, but I think it adds to the suspense in a big way.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and she clearly loves animals and nature and plants and birds so much.
So if you like twisty suspense novels, and you like reading outside, and you like Australian accents, there's a book recommendation. Well, all right. Thanks, Cricket.
You're welcome,
Happy
Jeff.
summer reading, everybody.
Happy summer reading.
No one wants to know what I think. So.
That gives me the ick.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm glad that this is. Please put this in the podcast. What should I ask? What do you even want to talk about?
Oh.
You really gave me no direction here.
Oh, what do I have amongst those prompts?
Do you like when people hold the mics?
Actually, this is a first.
Oh, okay.
This is a record-breaking first on the show. No one's done that before. You should actually.
It makes me feel
you should do
cool.
that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just lean back like that. Perfect.
I feel like I see people do it on their podcast, but they don't have stands on them. They're just holding the mic.
That's right. That has been a thing I've been seeing lately on the YouTubes, where they're just. I guess I could do that. No, that'd be probably unpleasant for our listeners. What? I guess I should talk about. Okay. First of all, everyone, welcome to the podcast. Joining us now is Julia, youth librarian. Hey, Julia.
Hi.
We're doing the bit. It's all real. This is your first time on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
in this episode.
Ever.
Yeah.
If you've heard me before, no, you didn't.
The fun part is you'll hear Julia again later, but that's for you to find out, even though I just spoiled it. Yeah.
Oh.
So we're talking about summer reading. I think I just have also memories of summer reading programs and what librarians did for me and the community as a kid when I came here.
Yeah, so what library would that be, Jeff?
It would be this one.
Oh my gosh.
The one we're standing in.
Oh, we're not standing.
That's also true. You're so about the facts today.
The library that we're currently sitting in, the Ferndale Library.
Right.
Yes.
And the place, the area in which the library would have been hosting programs is kind of where we're sitting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full
Or at
circle.
least that's where it used to be before the renovations. And I don't have original answers. However, I might have a critique.
Of programs that you attended?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because we had a nature-themed summer reading once. And
was it the same year I did it? Do you think?
the extent to which, this is going to sound so sad, but the extent to which one program was, and it was kind of just I was dropped off to spend the afternoon at the library situation.
That's how I remember library programs.
And they showed us a film about whales.
Okay.
And it was kind of just a PBS nature documentary.
Okay, it's giving substitute teachers here for the day.
It's giving real, wheel the TV in, hit the VCR, and walk away.
Was it a VHS
Actually,
tape?
no. In my memory, it was a projection screen. At least.
Okay.
I mean, but I was a child. I was very small. Any screen would have seemed big at that point. So, but I do remember kind of not falling asleep. So that's a positive.
Okay. What was the critique?
Oh, that it had substitute teacher vibes of like,
you're like kind of phoning it in.
Yeah, even as a child, I was like, you're kind of phoning it in, But the former youth librarian of the 80s and 90s is not going to listen to this podcast. But what if...
I know. Now I'm worried. Well, we all live and learn.
Yeah. I mean...
It could have been like...
It got me excited about...
there's other stuff going on. Let's just put this on,
But it did give me like... gee whiz wow energy about whales.
Mm-hmm. You said that at the time.
Yeah, gee whiz wow.
And the kid next to you was like,
you toned it down a bit. I think
down.
The other kid was like,
I didn't sign up for commentary.
Yeah, I think my enthusiasm was also still giving people the ick even back then.
Before we move on, I would like to delve into this a little bit.
Please. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, deep dives.
Okay.
That's what similar to whales.
Sure.
We're diving deep in this segment. Library programs kind of used to feel like the Wild West to me. Like, it truly was just show up, drop your kid off. Like, there was no registration.
Nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
So...
no control.
I'm imagining there was either 2 kids watching that whale documentary or like 100.
And the answer's close, like 30. There was like...
it is in between
30 kids just hanging out watching whales.
Yeah. There's something nice about that.
Yeah. I mean, we were all quiet and behaving ourselves and,
Something about, I'm assuming it was during the day.
Yeah.
It was like a midnight showing. A midnight screening of this whale doc. Mm-hmm. There's something nice, and I might be projecting as an adult, about a midday movie in the summer. You get out, it's still bright out. You probably had so much more appreciation for the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're I made it.
It's this weird...
let's go be outside.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Took you back to nature in the end, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's in my memory forever. I don't know. I can't shake this whale documentary.
So, coming back, summer 2025, we are going to be playing this exact whale documentary. Jeff is hosting this program.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll be making commentary. Like, what did you say? Gee whiz?
Gee whiz, wow.
That's the first time I've said that.
And how was that experience for you? Never doing it again, or?
No, I can't say I'm gonna be incorporating that into my...
Okay, but not fully like judgmental of it. Okay.
I don't know. It sounded worse when you said it, but...
gee whiz.
Oh.
The other thing, and this is not also an extraordinary answer, is I remember the magic shows. Another classic standby.
I also remember. I didn't bring it up because those who know me will know I'm unfortunately, personally, not a fan of magic or whimsy or fun in a lot of ways. But I also remember it was an end of summer. And, okay, I'm going to let you keep talking, but I have one memory of this, and I believe the magician was just in the stacks. I don't think it was in a program room of any sort.
Sure, that tracks.
I remember it kind of being by the reference desk.
Okay.
Is that right? I don't know. No one else here was there. So no arguments. But I don't know. I kind of think we should also have a magician just in the main part of the library.
That adds a little energy to it. That adds an element of excitement.
So, did that inspire you to become a magician? If listeners don't know, Jeff is the marketing coordinator and also a magician on the side.
Quite so, yeah. I
So
can do card
I'd
tricks.
like to tap into this is the origin of that.
You know, I did notably when the magician asked for a volunteer.
I said, gee whiz, sign me up.
I said, oh my gosh, gee whiz, wow. And I raised my hand and I went up there and I did a trick with the magician. I think that's what sticks with me. So even though I didn't become a magician, whatever. I guess I've told you off mic that I'm immune to embarrassment. Apparently, I don't get nervous in front of crowds. And maybe this magician, when I was 6.
Gave you that confidence.
Yeah, because I remember the magician, obviously a magician's going to be doing bits too, because a magician likes to make the kids laugh too, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of roasting me when I'm up there.
Okay.
And so the kids are kind of laughing at me.
Okay.
And I kind of rolled with it.
You're like, why not?
I was like, this is a good bit.
Did they saw you in half during that?
Sounds like the audience came up and did it.
It was not a trick at all. It was just outrage from the audience.
Suffice to say, the roasting got out of hand. And it elevated to, let's just cut this kid in half. No, but it was a good time. But again, like a magic show for kids, the library is a perfect place for that.
Yeah, we've done it.
Getting them excited about nature.
Yeah.
Library is a perfect place for that. You know, the library is always there for you. That's what I'm getting at, you know? I also remember kickoff parties still being a thing when I was a kid. And I remember one year, this couldn't have been the theme, though I can't confirm. But I remember the kickoff party was very like a Hawaiian luau sort of vibe.
Okay.
Like,
well, I mean, if we went back in the archives, maybe they were like...
we could find some, you know, whatever.
I don't know.
Hawaii is the theme.
Yeah, it's like...
Sure.
Will we do it now? No. But, you know, I don't know what year it was, so...
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make you say.
Well, it was 77. Star Wars was just coming out. Wait, so yeah, this year's Color Our World, and I think we're having face painting.
Yeah.
And
Glitter
temporary tattoos.
Oh, yeah. Temporary.
What? Yeah.
Temporary.
which I'm sporting right now. Richard Scarry on my arm. Big hit out there in the world still to this day.
We love temporary tattoos. We'll be getting many.
Yes. So that's my answer to your question. Wales, magic, and Hawaii. Yeah.
And I'm starting to wonder, what question did I ask? I think I said, what library?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I posed a question. I think you just started talking.
To talk about library programs. That's a fair accusation.
Because, yeah. Why not?
Okay, so do we need to cover anything else? Do we?
Is that it?
No, I
don't know. Are
so.
you asking me?
Oh, and another one of the problems, and I don't think anyone's going to answer this one, is did you have a summer where you read like a record amount of books?
Okay, sure.
For me, that was last summer.
Yeah. I read like
25.
Okay.
And that's mostly credited to you.
Okay, do we want to give more context?
Oh, okay. Because we're in a 2-person book club and you picked books and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
But it's only silly little books. So they were all under 250 pages.
Yeah. So, I mean, that helps with the count, Right.
Right. Shorter books.
25 books.
25 books in a summer.
That's pretty great.
And also a book that's 249 pages or less. That's fine.
Yeah. We had the rare book above 250 pages, but that's not the scope.
For adults this year, we're challenging you to read 4 books. They can also just be 110 pages.
Yeah. If you want
And it's
silly little book recommendations, you can come to us and we can give those to you.
Yeah.
If you're like, I simply don't have time to read 4 books a summer, don't worry. We've got 4 books that'll fit into your schedule.
Oh my gosh. If you're out there and you want to read more and you think I simply don't have the time, Julia will bring I Beg to Differ energy.
Yeah.
I will.
I mean, I'm telling you, I could fit 1,000 of the books I read on a bookshelf because they're so small. I'm sure you have time for those. You could put like 20 of them in your tote bag.
Yeah.
Just carry them around all the time.
Yeah.
If a moment pops up.
Yeah.
4 books. 4 books. Could be anything.
There's been a lot of love on this podcast to the experience of reading outside. I can't argue with that.
I know the Friends of the Library have done multiple outdoor reading events at different parks.
Park and read.
Yeah. Park it and read.
Which is misleading because I think you can get out of your car. You don't have to
I think
sit
park
in your car.
it's like
Park.
sit your butt down and read.
Oh, I just
Park
got
it.
the pun.
Right?
Yeah. You're going to
No,
park it.
everyone's got to drive separately and stay in their cars in the parking lot.
Going to park it at a park.
Yeah, park it at the park and read. So, I mean, we get a lot of great
Spoiler alert.
local parks. So.
Future segment coming up in this episode where we talk about a parks organization coming for a program that you're hosting.
Oh, yeah.
How about
Oakland County Parks and Rec.
That's right.
I'm going to keep shouting them out.
Fact checking our futures from our past selves.
Well, if you want book recommendations that are, books the size of pamphlets.
Well, you're here on the podcast. What if I asked you for one right now for the masses?
Okay.
Do you have a book recommendation for us?
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
It's the sigh for me.
It's because I'm not good with author names, so I'm like, I want to make sure I'm shouting out the author.
Sure.
My gosh. If you all don't keep a reading log, which summer reading is a great opportunity to do that, because if you use Beanstack,
You develop the habit.
it's so simple to log the author and the book. Sometimes I'm reading a book so obscure it's not in Beanstack, so I'm just typing it in manually. But most of the time it'll auto-populate and it'll help you keep track. I really want to shout out Bitterwater Opera, and that feels like a good summer read. That's a pamphlet-sized book.
Yeah. Is it even 100 pages? Yeah.
No, it must be maybe 120.
120, yeah.
I don't know. It's it feels like a summery book. Does it take place in the summer? It takes place in warm spaces.
It is in the Southwest, and it is structured really appealingly. It's almost like a 3-act play. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, and it's not called Act 1, Act 2, yada, yada, but the second part feels very summery.
And there's gardening in it.
Yes, there is.
That always feels of a season. Okay, it's by Nicolette Polek, who is a Harvard graduate.
That's right. and inspired you to enroll there one day.
Yeah, we love the Harvard University Press. They are coming out with a lot of short books.
And there you go, 120 pages. You've already got one of your 4 books knocked off. Bitterwater Opera.
I got a whole list if anyone wants it.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and press that button.
And yeah, you're going to have to cut some of that out. Okay. Bye.
Drew?
Hello. There we go.
Welcoming to the podcast is Library Director Drew. Drew, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So we've been recording lots of memories and nostalgia, and also because we've been talking about summer reading and that always brings up a lot of good energy. We always get excited about what we're reading over the summer. And I think you're going with a book recommendation?
I wanted to talk about what I've been reading for the last couple summers because I've got a short memory. And I've noticed that I have a tendency to read about the beach, whether I get to go to the beach or not.
Okay.
And I noticed that for the last couple summers, I've read a couple of books that have left lumps in my throat for different reasons, and they both involve beaches. And I just wanted to make sure people knew we had them and maybe get excited about them.
Yeah. I mean, because if you can't get to the beach, you might as well read about it.
That's right. In 2003, Emma Cline released her first novel, which was called The Guest, and it takes place on Long Island, and it's a tragic comedy, and it's a young woman very much divorced from the aspects of capitalism that would provide her with housing, clothing, or any sort of stability, sort of wandering through other people's lives over the course of the summer.
That sounds a little interesting and dark and suspense and thrillery kind of.
It is. It's unpredictable.
Like Christopher Nolan's Following, maybe a little bit. Or okay.
Yeah. And it is a little dark.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, you could do a palate cleanser after The Guest and read last year's Sandwich, like the delicious meal.
Not a witch in the sand on the beach. Okay.
No,
Gotcha.
Unfortunately. By Catherine Newman. And that one takes place on Cape Cod. And that's about the sandwich generation, and that it's about managing your parents while managing your adult children while looking at the potentiality of grandchildren. But it's also about sandwiches and how important they are to what makes a good sandwich, what makes a not good sandwich, what makes a good picnic, and what doesn't.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And it's plotless and wandering in some ways, in the way that summer days are long and sometimes aimless and yet delightful.
Lumps in your throat for different reasons.
Yeah. This one is comic
Okay.
and touching, and she'll be like, "Aw," when you close it.
And Emma Cline's The Guest was some...
thrillery and worrying and concerning.
Sure.
And when it's over, you're like, I'm not sure this is a good result for anybody. But
That sounds
interesting.
If memory serves, I also think Emma Cline's The Guest is a digestible length. If you don't have a lot of time, I think it clocks in under 300. So
Yep. I think the sandwich book is like 320 something. So they're both pretty short, and they're both kind of blocky. They're broken up in ways that you can do a half hour in the hammock and then a half hour right before bed.
And do you think you'll follow that routine? Find a book that is beach-y this summer?
It's quite possible. I haven't even begun the perusal.
Well, you've got a guideline. You know what to look for.
Yes, it has been very satisfying. Can I tell you my favorite summer reading story from my childhood?
Please.
Okay, and this one's not about reading. This one's about film.
Okay.
So when I was growing up in Battle Creek, we had summer reading at Willard Public Library, and they had a film club for children.
Just like
on
us,
Wednesday
but
afternoons.
not for children.
And it was in a beautiful big room with a giant screen. And for whatever reason, every year from second grade through fifth grade, sixth grade, second through sixth, I saw Rikki Tikki Tavi, the animated mongoose film, every year. And I became very interested in mongoose, a little bit overwhelmed with the predator-prey relationship.
Okay.
It left a huge impact on me.
Here I am Googling this. I don't think I'm familiar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's an old film with some pretty distinctive animation style.
Oh, it almost comes up immediately. Okay.
I am not the only person deeply impacted by the personalization of the mongoose-snake relationship.
Sure. Oh my gosh.
So I honestly think that because of that film, I had a broader sense of what animation could do, and it's really impacted my viewing all the way into adulthood. And it was definitely not a film I would have come across through my family or my school.
Libraries.
They're pretty fantastic.
Doing the magic of exposing us to things like that and broadening our minds and making lasting memories too. Cheers to that. Well, thanks, Drew.
Okay, thank you.
I had all these prompts. Come on up to the microphone. This is Susan from the Reference Desk, librarian Susan. I say Reference Desk, the Adult Services Department. Hey, Susan.
Hello.
All right. So Yeah, I could ask you for a book that reminded you of the summer. I could ask you about a book that's coming out later this year. Was that where you were leaning? What are you thinking about this summer, book-wise and reading-wise?
So I really liked your question about, was there a book that reminds you of summer, and is there a book that you associate with summer every summer?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, for me, it's the Harry Potter series, because we always go, my family, we always go to Maine in the summer, in August, and we used to spend 2 weeks there, and it was like the time where really all I would do would be just read everything all day. And there is it's a very tiny town in Maine. There is a library. It actually looks like a castle, because the person who built it wanted his books to live in a castle.
How magical.
So it literally is a castle in this little seaside town. And we've been going to the same place for a really long time, and I knew the librarian who was there. And then I also knew a friend, and they were reading the Harry Potter series. Mm-hmm. So it was my friend and his dad, and they were reading the Harry Potter series. So they wanted to pass it to me while we were, like sitting by the pool, or just kind of like passing them by in the hotel, like on the way to go to the beach, things like that. They're like, you should try reading this series. And I was like, oh, I don't read fantasy. Of course, I was like 13, 14 at the time. I thought, I don't read fantasy. And they just said, you have to try this. And my friend is a little younger than I am, so I think I was probably 13. I think he was probably 8 or 9 at the time. And so I picked it up, and it was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And, of course, the Gringotts break-in happens on July 31st, which is Harry's birthday, which is also my birthday.
Right, wow.
So it was like instant connection to this story, instant connection to the characters. And to me, that is summer, is reading those stories when it's hot out, when I don't have to go to school, when it's, late at night and there's like fireflies you can see. If we were at home, I'd be looking out my window and there'd be fireflies. And we were on vacation, I'd look out the window and I'd see, if I was inside, I'd see the ocean. Or if I'm outside, I'd, be at the beach. And there were, since I read the first one when it was new, then there were numerous summers where we would either be just leaving for the trip and the new book would be coming out, so we would have to get it immediately.
Right.
Or we would land at the airport. My mom would remember this. Land at the airport, find out where the closest Barnes & Noble was, or Borders in that case, because Borders was still around.
Yeah.
And we would go and we'd pick it up, and then we'd go home. Like, I wouldn't even let them go home and then get it. It was like I couldn't wait to find out. That definitely was the case for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Was we stopped on the way home from the airport to buy the book. And then for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I remember that one came out, and I remember reading it on my birthday, like just staying up really late, which I thought was like super late at the time because I was young. So
Sure.
It was like, I'm reading this book until 3 a.m. Like, what am I doing?
Wow.
I've never done that. But it was just like, it really kept me going. And I just was a fan right away. And it really, like, even now, every summer, if I want to feel comforted or I want to feel like this is the start of summer, I need to do this, I go to those books.
Excellent. Yeah. And those are books that are notorious for like being very page-turnery, very hard to put down. You want that free time in the summer to read it. Any books you're reading right now, currently?
Currently, it's The Running Grape, because I haven't finished it yet, because it's like 945 pages.
Whoa.
But also, I read The Winds Are Not by S.J. Bennett, which is also set in London. I was trying to read things before my trip.
Sure.
And that's a mystery, and it's like somebody who wrote about if Queen Elizabeth was secretly a detective.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
It's kind of a cozy. And then, I read the travel guide for London, and I also read a lot of magazines.
Nice, yeah.
So we have all the magazines here that people really like. We've got travel magazines. We've got Vogue and Elle and Marie Claire. And I like, when I go on a trip, I like to buy an edition of the magazine for whatever place I'm visiting if it's different, just to see. So I did read British Vogue also, which is cool because Mary Berry is profiled in British Vogue because she's going to be 90.
Wow. Magazines still count as summer reading, especially if they are those big, bulky, long magazines like Vogue, or these are sometimes those magazines have like 90 plus pages. So you kind of are taking a little book on. And these are all sections Susan oversees. We should say mysteries, magazines, travel.
Right, travel guides, yes.
This was a new travel guide for London?
There is one. It's a Fedora's 2025, and there's also Lonely Planet London. And then I looked online too, because there's Eyewitness that we also have in print, but then you can use online. There's Transport for London, which that's how I figured out to use their taxi system. I looked on there first, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And they have an app for taxis, and I could get it to come like right to the door of where we needed it to if we couldn't get to a taxi stand. So that it worked really spectacularly well and better than I thought.
Amazing. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Susan.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. It's basically the same.
I mean, who are we to argue with Julia? She makes the rules.
I can't. Oh.
It's probably safer for the library that way.
Safer for me.
Oh, wait. If Julia makes rules, can I be in charge of safety precautions and policies?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Joining me on the podcast now is Erin, youth librarian.
Yay!
From the youth department, which is one of the busier and crazier departments during the summertime. Oh my gosh.
Some might say that.
Oh my gosh. How are you, Erin?
I'm great. I'm so excited. I'm in the mood for all things summer reading right now.
Excellent. Where'd your tea go?
Oh, I left it to go steep at my desk safely.
Okay, great.
Because today is rainy and cold, so I need to have hot tea. But I'm thinking warm thoughts.
It's a real spring day, but summer's coming, and you're hearing this in mid-May. If you did tune in live, hopefully you subscribe to us. The kickoff for Ferndale Library Summer Reading is June 7th. We're all looking forward to that.
It's going to be so great.
I gave out a lot of prompts, Erin. Did you respond to a specific prompt in mind?
I did.
Which one did you choose?
I wanted to talk all about my childhood memories of summer reading programming.
Oh, love it. All ears.
I like to think it's because us youth librarians are just really in touch with our childhood still. But yeah, like I had very fond memories. Picture this. It's small town Armada, Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Little Erin bicycles up to the library every day in the summer.
Great.
And there's not much to do in the middle of the countryside, so the library is like the place to go.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I just have so many memories specifically of, there's like 2 programs I did. And I give so much credit to the library staff for these, which at the time it just felt like a great program and a great thing and all that. But I'm like, wow, how did they pull this off now that
Making magic
happen for the youth?
Glitter and cardboard.
Yes.
Which is what you do now.
Quite literally. Except for glitter's dangerous.
Okay. And Mod Podge.
We'll do Mod Podge though. I love some Mod Podge. But it is very much related to the first program that I think about when you say childhood summer reading. They had a bookmark contest.
I love it.
And all these different age groups got together. And it was kind of like a passive program. Everyone was just given like a blank bookmark and said, hey, take this home for a week. Submit it when you can. So I spent like 2 hours at home very carefully considering how to decorate a bookmark. And I ended up just drawing a lot of hearts all over it because I was like 6. And still to this day, not artistically talented when it comes to like drawing. So we just drew a whole bunch of hearts and said, I heart books. My older sister also drew like something, but it involved parakeets and
as one does,
like the niche childhood interest route was taken there. And so everyone submitted all these different bookmarks, and then the library got together and the one youth librarian picked out like the top bookmarks for all these different age categories and turned those bookmarks into something that like you could just take from the library. Like they were like random patrons could just grab your bookmark that you designed, and that was just such a mind-blowing thing to me.
Yours won?
It did.
Whoa.
I won my age category, not to brag. But,
Amazing.
You know. And like the whole prize that you won was a definitely donated by someone like book. Like you had to pick like a book off a little card of donations. So like it wasn't a crazy big prize, except for it felt like it when you were a kid. And like this whole thing was shoestring budgeted, and it was one of the most memorable, wonderful like experiences as a kid to be like, whoa, I got to design something, and now all these other kids that come to the library are going to be taking home my bookmark. And it was like such a cool program.
Incredible.
Such a great thing. And like hats off to the librarian who thought of that.
Love it. Love it. And hats off to your design. Simple but effective.
Simple but effective.
And cute.
It conveyed a message.
Did you have a second memory?
Yeah. So the other one is also a craft one. I like the craft programs. You know, I have memories of performers. There's a spoon guy once who made music with spoons. It was a weird thing, but it was real weird.
Sure.
But my two like top, like all my favorite ones are always the craft programs.
Sure. A's and C's.
We love a good craft.
Yep.
And this one, it was the theme for the summer was like oceans.
Okay. Yeah.
And so everyone got to make a like everyone had a plastic tray, and it was filled with sand and little shells and other accoutrements.
Sure.
And you had to place them as you would, and then they took Officer Paul, the only cop that I knew in town, happened to also do work with plaster work. Came by and poured everyone's things into these plaster, or put plaster on top, and basically did a plaster mold cast
Wow.
of your beach scene.
Oh, lovely.
And they got turned into like these little stepping stone garden path things. And it was one of those things of like, I never created art on like that level. So
That's delightful.
It was super delightful, super wholesome, really connected to theme. So
Sure.
points for that.
Oh, man.
But it was such a great time, like getting in with your hands to like play around with the sand and to create something.
I hope you kept that somewhere at home.
It broke
Oh, no. I mean, that was
really soon after.
my next concern.
I was heartbroken.
No.
Jeff.
This was such a good
Like,
story
you would
until
think-
10 seconds ago.
You would think that it would have lasted at least until like the first time, like, oh, you know, we were moving houses or something. No, it broke within like a week. It was maybe ever so slightly just what happens when you have young kids and breakable objects.
Oh, it's
outside.
ever so slightly that?
Ever so
I
slightly.
think it might have been that.
You know, it was not intentional by anyone.
Every
just-
parent listening to this podcast was like, yep.
It was well loved to the point of breaking.
Oh, yeah.
We'll put it that way, because some things are just too special to live.
Oh, my gosh. And are there some summer programs coming up that you are facilitating and bringing to the public that you're excited about?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've got 2 programs that I'm doing over the summer. The first that I'm really excited about is going to be a cupcake decorating.
Cupcake decorating.
Because once again, I love crafty things. So
And a treat.
And a treat.
Yeah.
I do love treats. And baking myself, but I'm not teaching the class. We have a local bakery who's going to be coming in, and they're going to be teaching the teens how to decorate a art/painting inspired cupcake.
Amazing.
That they'll get to all take home a delicious cupcake at the end, and that's going to be such a good time. I look forward to maybe learning some stuff myself. I'm an amateur cupcake decorator. My skills are
Sure.
above 0,
Okay,
but
sure.
not great. So I look forward to seeing and learning something too. It's going to be a great time. I love to see the kids' creativity come out. You know, get treats. It's going to be a great program.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I'm hosting for the summer is going to be our toddler dance party.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a good time.
Yep.
Think baby rave.
Baby rave.
Well, the first half is going to be more sensory friendly for all our sensitivity with like sound levels and lights and, you know, all that craziness. And you need something a little bit more chill. We're going to start with that and some controlled dances. And then the second half, we are going crazy wild. We're going to have lights. We're going to have the bubbles. It's going to be a good time.
Bubbles are a hit.
Bubbles are a hit. If only I could get permission to have like a whole foam machine, I would. But
You could be inspiring a next generation of a baker or a DJ.
whoa. Can you imagine one day if there's a child on this podcast that's grown up into a librarian and talking about that time that they went to a baby rave and then later on in their life had an older sibling that made cupcakes?
Yes. And they work in a library by day, but they're a DJ by night secretly.
Yeah, that's their secret passion. Maybe they're going to be hosting the podcast.
By then, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I sure hope by the time a toddler reaches adulthood and is working at the library, we have long since retired. But
Yeah. Or like gone into business for ourselves.
got into business crafting cardboard.
Yeah. What were we? Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, it's going to be a cardboard.
We're going to craft cardboard.
and sell it to libraries.
Are we going to have a box factory? Is that just what we do now? We just make boxes?
It has to go beyond just making a box.
I feel like we want a storefront, right? Don't we want to meet the people?
Maybe it needs to be like cardboard forts. We sell forts that kids can make out of cardboard or something.
And we are an independent small business.
Oh yeah, and I'll run a safety class on how to cut cardboard safely so no one gets injured.
Not a big box store.
Big box store.
Thanks, Erin.
Yep, thanks for having me.
I hope so.
Could just be me.
Joining me now on the podcast.
5-minute podcast.
Joining me now on the podcast, it's going to be 6 minutes, is Julia, youth librarian from the youth department, here to talk about summer reading. So the prompt was, it could be anything summer reading. It could be literal summer reading, a thing you're reading this summer, a thing you read last summer, a thing you read during any summer. Or it could be summer reading at a library from your childhood. And that's the one you picked. Spoiler alert. Tell us what's on your mind, Julia.
Yeah. I feel like I've come on a summer reading podcast before and I talked about a book.
Uh-huh.
You know, because we love to read and we love books.
We do.
But I also love the library. And that's not just books.
Sure.
And I really wanted to shout out my library.
From
when I was a kid.
Your home library.
My home library in Southwest Michigan. Pawpaw District Library.
Uh-huh.
This is really a shout out for all rural libraries that are doing the most with the least, you know?
Yeah.
We love to see it. When I attended summer reading programs, there was just one youth librarian at that library, and she was really doing a lot, and we love to see it.
Did that inspire you indirectly to become a youth librarian?
You know, it kind of did, and I also worked at that library for years, and I was like, this is kind of lovely. But yeah, so summer reading, there's so many great things about the summer reading program, memories I have.
Capital P
from
program.
childhood.
Capital P program. Because we're
Yes.
talking about not just let's get kids to read, but like things happening at the library.
This was showing up.
Magic made by
to
librarians.
programs. Yeah, run by the librarians, and I remember there being a lot of community partnerships, which has definitely inspired my work now. And there must have been a theme. This is where my memory lapses, okay? You know, there's always a theme for listeners who might not know. What is it? CSLP?
The CSLP Center for Summer Library Cooperative Collective Collaboration. Collaborative something. We'll put it in the show notes.
I thought that you meant this. All of those were included. And I was like, wow, that's a lot.
And so obviously this year's theme is Color Our World. It's art themed. And so there's a theme every year.
And so that, depending on the library, will loosely or heavily influence like what kind of programs or decor at our library. It just kind of gives like guidance.
Yeah.
What's the vibe for the summer? We love to set vibes.
Sure.
So I'm not sure, but based on everything I remember, I think it was some sort of nature theme.
Okay, yeah.
Or they were kind of leaning into like
The outdoors.
that was very important to the community anyways.
Yep.
So it could have been thematic. It could have just been a choice. I don't know.
You're remembering naturalistic elements.
Yes. I remember 2 programs in particular
Oh, amazing.
that
Amazing.
I attended. One of them was learning from a nature expert how to identify animals based on their poop that you would find outside. I believe we were using the term scat in the program, you know, because we were like really scientific. And we were all just kind of in the program room and they brought poop in.
No
for
content
us
warning
to
on
look
any of
at.
this.
Oh yeah, sorry. But
Scat.
so anyways, we're gonna be talking about poop for like just one more
4
minute.
more minutes.
I promise. So anyways, they like brought it in, and I remember them bringing in owl pellets because that was kind of a thing in schools and also in this program where you could take them apart and be like, this is what the owl ate, because that's how their digestive system works, is that you would still see bones and fragments and things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I learned a lot. There was a song that we learned. That's kind of it. It's kind of gone, but the sentiment is there. And it was just kind of like, hey, you know, we all love to be outside. Look around and you'll learn more about your environment.
It imbued a sense of curiosity in you?
Yes.
Turned you into a rummager?
They were like, go outside and start looking for poop and,
Sure.
and you'll know what kind of animals are around you. And that was a skill I didn't have yet. You know, it was something I learned.
Makes you more knowledgeable about your surroundings.
Yes.
But you have also, not to spoil it for listeners, you are a bit of a rummager.
Yeah.
You're a bit of a wormhole diver now. You research things. You're just a curious person.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to that scat.
Yeah. Yeah. It all comes back to poop at the library.
Yeah.
And we love library programs because they are for all ages. We literally have programs going from 0 through adulthood. And that is truly just a free space to learn things. We have so many fun programs coming up this summer, and I know that's not just for the youth department. Of course, I work there, so I'm like, youth's got a lot of great stuff, but adult has a lot of great stuff as well. I want to talk about one more program before I talk about the rummaging aspect of my summer reading memories.
Sure.
And before the mic gets unplugged.
No.
Because my time's running out.
No, not at all.
So this
You're the
was
whole
also
podcast.
the same summer.
Okay.
I was going to a lot of programs.
Like, what are we, 7, 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got my friend to go with me, and we were like, this summer, it's the summer
Up library.
of the library. We're like, drop us off. We're going to all the programs. And we did.
Beautiful. How
And
endearing.
another one of them was also nature-focused, animal-focused. We were learning about echolocation. Specifically with bats. And we did a very fun activity. And this, there's a moral to this story. No, there's not. There's, cut that out.
I'm keeping all of that.
There's a reason why I'm telling this story. I'm gonna make that more big, which is that library programs can be very hands-on.
Yeah.
And they leave you with lasting memories. And in this program, we had a volunteer. I'm assuming they volunteered and not were just selected. They were also a kid. Stand in the middle of the program room and close their eyes, and we all threw things at them, and then they kind of pointed where they thought they were coming from.
Oh, so you didn't hit this individual. You let the things land near them?
No, I think it was both.
Okay.
And it was supposed to kind of teach principles of wow, things get more challenging when you cannot see. And then we learned about the different senses that animals have to kind of navigate through spaces differently. And so it was something I remembered a lot because it's not very often, I guess, gym class that you're just throwing things at people.
Dodgeball.
You know, I believe they were like ping pong balls. It was like selected carefully. It wasn't like we weren't throwing rocks. You know, there was...
Part of the game was identifying where it came from and what it was. Oh, that was a stapler.
Yeah, we kind of just brought our own stuff from home.
Oh, that was a book. Ow.
No, but that is just like, I mean, those programs I attended 20 years ago, and it's still something that I think very fondly of. And it's something that, like, those topics, although they seem like very random or like kind of silly in the lens that we're viewing them through or like discussing them through right now, like, they're all things that came up later in education. Like, they're all topics that you will learn about again. And like I said, library programs are for all ages. So it could be an introduction to a thing you haven't learned yet. Could be a reminder, you know, like once formal education ends, sometimes it's harder to learn new skills, and the library is just like a great place to do that. So
lifelong learning.
We love lifelong learning.
Yeah.
And the last thing, I just love my library. This library and the library that I went to, which was, again, shout out
rural libraries.
We love to see it, and we love to
they're small and they're mighty, and they're doing their darndest.
And I believe, well, I was reading all summer because you know, summer reading's great, books are great, and just like you do here at that library, you won prizes for reading. This is where things get fun, guys. If you were tuning out because you were getting bored,
because of the scat,
tune back in.
We're back.
We're so back. So, you know, if you've ever attended one of my programs, you know, some might have. We do something called rummage bins.
We do.
Which are kind of just bins you rummage through for things.
A pro rummage library and podcast.
And I cannot even say I came up with that concept. I like to just think I was just trying to alleviate organization. Because, you know, there's like a sense of like hands-on, especially in like a crafting program, that you just want to like have no limitations. You know, you're finding things where you think you wouldn't find them.
Right.
You're just kind of digging through things.
Right.
But I remembered kind of recently that the rummage bin was introduced to me as a concept at the Papa Library. Because the prizes were just kind of little trinkety things. And there was no rhyme or reason that I remember that like a certain thing was associated with getting a certain amount of books read or doing X, Y, or Z in the way that we kind of do it here. It was just a bin with stuff in it. And you told the librarian, like, I read books, and they said, go rummage around in the bin and get something. Good job. And I remember rummaging around in that bin for so long because there were just so many little things to look at.
The possibilities.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So, shout out. Summer reading programs are lifelong memories. Rummage bins are fun. Go look at the ground more.
Learn about where things are coming from when they're thrown at you.
Yeah. I think that story could probably just get taken out.
No, we're keeping that one. No, because it's good to know about bats, you know?
Yeah. And I do care about bats a lot.
It's good to know how
it's all coming from that.
It's good to know how animals experience the world.
Yeah, Yeah.
That's how bats experience the world.
Yeah.
Love the energy of a rummage bin, especially for a craft program, because what do you want when you're trying to inspire creativity? Seemingly boundless possibilities. That's what the rummage bin represents to me.
And, I don't know where this is sitting in the podcast. I mean, I don't know how you're going to edit this. That's not my choice.
Well.
But to tie it back, everyone, isn't this podcast kind of like a rummage bin? You don't even know what we're going to be talking about on here.
That's too true. And also for more chaos, I've now decided that this will be the capper finale part of the podcast, even though it's literally the first.
Okay, so then we're looking back at it and we're like, oh, remember all of those little anecdotes and things we learned along the way?
Even though I haven't recorded any of that yet, and it's the start
well,
of the
I'm
day.
reflecting back on it.
I think it's been a good day of a good episode.
It's been a great day.
With a lot of rummaging.
I won't be sitting in on any of the other ones, but I just know.
It's been a good one.
It's been a good one. I mean, how lucky are we to rummage through this digital bin together?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Julia.
Thanks for having me.
For joining us on the podcast. Thanks, everyone at home, for listening to another episode of A Little Too Quiet. It's the Ferndale Library Podcast, brought to you by the Friends of the Ferndale Library. And, well, I guess people are hearing this in early May, so, mark your calendars, everyone. June 7th, that's when we're kicking things off.
Yes.
Julia's got great programs. You're bringing in an author and illustrator. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Let the kids meet an author, get them inspired. They can write their own books. You're always inspiring kids. All right, I'm getting off on a tangent. I guess we should wrap up.
Oh, and no, I'm going to keep going.
Keep going, please.
We're partnering with Oakland County Parks and Rec on a program.
Yes.
Which is really going to tie back to the programs I loved attending as a kid.
Whilst also tying in with the color.
Yes.
Color our world.
Colors in nature.
Colors in nature.
Yeah. But there's a lot of other great stuff happening.
There definitely is.
And zines are coming back.
Zines are coming
That's
back.
where the rummage bins live.
Concerts, art, what the heck else are
If you
we
don't
doing?
Edit some of that out and I listen later.
Well, if I edit some of that, you're going to come off very forceful where you're like, Oakland County Parks and
But
Rec.
that's how I want to come off.
Okay. Then I'm going to cut both of those parts. Okay. I promise I was in the middle of ending this podcast. Thanks again. Thanks again, Julia. I don't know if I'll edit any of that, but we'll see.
Oh, no. Okay, well.
Everyone, summer reading. Libraries. They're not just reading. They're also programs. And lifelong memories. Lifelong learning.
Yes.
And lifelong memories.
Yes. That's what we're really tapping into.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and tell your friends. And we'll be back next week with more. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
This is going to be edited together perfectly, and I'm not cutting.
I can't wait.
I'm also not cutting any of the things you asked me to cut in the second segment.
Sure.